Okay, in order to graph on Google Sheets, you need to first set up your data table. So from first period, they decided to do baseballs and volleyballs. Remember that every time you are doing a graph, you need to have your unit. So even though it says baseballs, you need to say it's measured in number of balls. Okay, so those are your units. Here is then where you need to put your data. All we did was do 1 through 5 and 2 through 10. So make it easy. In order to actually graph your data, what you need to do is if you go up to this first cell, so this one that says baseballs, if you click on it with your mouse or on your touchpad and hold down that click, if you start dragging it like this, it'll highlight all your data. You want to make sure that you're highlighting both the names, because it'll type it in for you, and then your numbers. All right, once you have that done, you can go up and insert a chart. So there's a button over here. Or you can, so there's this one over here. It looks like a little bar chart. Or you can go to insert and hit chart. Okay, ta-da. So it magically adds one for you. So one that just took about what took you almost an entire class time is all done in about 2 seconds. However, if you notice, because we've been graphing stuff with, when we're looking at 2 different values that we want to see the relationship, we don't want this bar graph. So you can change the type of graph in Google Sheets to whatever type you would like. So if you look over on the right, over here, and this chart editor comes up every time you open up a graph. And chart type is where you actually pick what kind of graph you want. So if you click the little arrow right here, it will suggest ones for you, but as we've noticed, Google Sheets is wrong and we don't want that kind of chart. So you can scroll down, you'll see line charts, column charts or bar graphs, pie charts, and then there's our lovely little scatter graph that we want. So if you click that, now we have our scatter plot. Okay, so the cool thing is it's already graphed for you. These lines are perfectly straight, so you don't have to worry about graphing those. Okay, one thing I want you to notice. So we have our labels on the axes, which is always what we need. Anytime you have a table set up, whatever you want on the x-axis, so this bottom axis, you need to put in the table first. Okay, so this would be known as our independent variable. Okay, so that in an experiment is going to be what we're changing. We'll talk about it a little bit more in class. Our y's then, our y-axis is going to have our dependent variable. Okay, so as long as you set up whatever you want on your x, it goes in the first part of your table, second part is your y, and then it'll set it up correct. If you notice, on the y-axis, we have 0 through 10, so that scale looks pretty good, but look at this little guy up here. This needs to be a little higher so we can see our whole data. And then, unfortunately, because this thing thinks it's a little bit better and smarter than it is, it starts at 1, which makes no sense. So our first point over in this corner is 0, 1. I don't like that. So what you need to do is we actually need to change some of this. So unfortunately, my little chart editor went away. If you accidentally click it away, if you click this little 3-button thing up in this corner, you can go to Edit Chart, and then that'll pop right back up. All right. Here's where you can change everything for your chart, is under Customize. So you can do style, you can do titles, you can do whatever you're graphing, which is your series. The legend is this little thing over here, which we're actually going to get rid of because we only have one thing we're graphing. The horizontal axis is your x-axis, and the vertical axis is your y. All right. So what we want to do is change our scale. All right, so if we go to horizontal axis, because that's our x-axis, you can change the font, you can change whatever you want to on there. Here's where you would change your scale. So if I wanted to go from 0, because that's where I want to start, we're going to put that in our minimum. Oh, look, perfect. Now we have this as a normal graph where we have 0, 0 being down in the left corner. Okay. If you notice, 5 is also our maximum. We want to go a little past that so we can see that dot also. So we're going to go up to 6. All right? And now we've got that graphed. You can do the same exact thing now for the vertical axis. So remember, we want to get rid of that 10. So vertical axis, our minimum is still going to be 0, so we don't need to change that. Our maximum then, let's make that 12. And then once you type it in, it fits. So now we can see all 5 of our points. We got it. If you want to get rid of this little thing over here, because it's kind of annoying and it's taking up our way, this is called the legend. You can get rid of it. Well, you used to be able to get rid of it. Okay, we're just going to leave that there for right now. Oh, there we go. So if you hit position and hit that arrow, you can say none, and it disappears. Okay, now, since we have a scatter plot, you know the thing that we always have to do is form a best fit line. So best thing about this is Google can do this for you. So then you don't have to calculate your slope, since I know you guys can do that. You don't have to do your y-intercept because the line will be there. What you need to do is you need to click on your data points. If you do that, so that series thing pops up. Series just means what are you graphing? So that would be those y variables. If we go, so we can change the color. I'm going to change it to orange since that's my favorite color. Okay, trend line. This is what you want to click to do a best fit line. Trend line is the same as a best fit line. So if you click that, perfect. We now have a trend line. Okay, now the problem is, if you notice, you don't have a y-intercept value and you don't have a slope value. And we don't have a y equals mx plus b equation. What you can do is where it says linear, we're always going to do lines, so don't worry about that. Go to label and hit use equation. So that'll make a line equation for you. So then if you look over here, this means the line is equal to, so number of volleyballs is going to be equal to 2. Now, unfortunately, it does not give you units like you're supposed to do, so you're going to have to do that yourself. And that would be number of balls over number of balls, so that'd be nothing, times x, and x is our number of baseballs, plus 0. So that means our y-intercept is 0, and our slope is 2, and it's been calculated for you. Okay, those are the basics of what you guys would need for right now. There's some other stuff you can go around and play with that you definitely can. You can change your chart title. So if you wanted to go sports, ball, relatedness, whatever, since we're graphing volleyballs and baseballs for some reason. Okay, you can change the chart title. You can change the axis titles, etc. Okay, now the only thing, if this bothers you that this is kind of like in the middle of this page, there's a cool little thing we can do. So go back to this little 3-dot thing, click it, and then right here it says move to own sheet. So these whole things on Google Sheets, this is a sheet, and you can add more. So if we go over here and click move to own sheet, we get this huge graph now that we can see really well. And my computer's having issues. So once you move that to your own sheet, you can see the graph much easier. And then if you needed to turn it into me, I can see that. And then it's way easier for me to tell what all your values are. Okay, so what you guys need to do is you need to graph your circle lab data. So you need to have diameter here and circumference here. So I gave you your graphs back. So if you want to check what you did with here, you're good. So if your slope was maybe off or I circled it for you, you'll be able to get the correct slope over here. So we're going to talk about it on Monday, so you need to have that done for class on Monday.